The party enters the room full of cultists. There are 7 of them, each of them chanting, Vecna gotta see, Vecna gotta see. The one cultist in the middle turns around, removes his hood, and you can see that he is missing his left arm and his left eye. That's my right eye. His left eye. It is Vecna. Roll for initiative, because we are here to talk about Stranger Things Season 4, Part 1. And holy shit, what a ride here on the Fake Nerds Watch. I am Ben Magnet in the Upside Down with my bros, Brandon T. McClure.
Hello.
Ryan Diapolis.
No, Brandon, I want you to continue.
Oh. I forgot immediately after I started talking. I was like, I definitely had something to say.
I am in the Upside Down. Hello.
And of course, Sparkz Woody.
This was a lot of episodes.
This
that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's like most of the season.
And what's funny is the next part is still almost the same amount in regards to it being 2 episodes and it being 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like, I understand special effects reasons, story reasons, pandemic reasons. They cut it off where they did, and I'm glad, because I'd rather have a complete full season, even if it's kind of weird where it stops. Not in terms of story, just like episode 7. Didn't bother me too much.
I actually think it ends in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree.
It ends
with a good little conclusion.
It ends with the reveal of who Vecna was. And during the whole time I'm watching this last night, or I should say this morning, really, I'm sitting there. We're jumping way ahead. Obviously, spoilers are bound. This is Fake Nerds Watch. You should know the deal by now.
Spoilers for all 7 episodes.
All
so
7
far
episodes.
Released.
All 7. And the whole time I'm sitting there going, no, they're not. And I'm like, oh shit, is that guy Vecna? He can't. Is he Vecna? And then it's like, no, he can't be Vecna. Vecna was already in the Upside Down. He's probably just like an agent of Vecna. And it's like, no, I was wrong. He's Vecna. He's Vecna. And then when the reveal happens, which we'll get into more detail later, that the orderly was Vecna the whole time, I'm like,
it's a good reveal.
It's a very good reveal.
Yeah, I think cutting it off where they did, while it is strange that it's 7 and then 2, is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good, because like you do wrap up storylines by episode 7. You have a lot of things. You have a lot of characters coming to a head. You have a lot of reveals that are happening in episode 7 that just kind of make sense for a pretty satisfying cliffhanger that you don't feel like you're missing anything. You do feel like you just saw a complete run of episodes, and then you get into 8 and 9, and you feel like you're pretty much ready to go.
And if you do feel like, the story's not over, it's coming out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's not like the wait. They did this because of the pandemic. Like, it would have been a full season otherwise. So like, this is a situation where like doesn't bother me at all. It's not like we're waiting a year and a half for 2 episodes. Just a couple weeks.
Yeah. I will not lie. When the episode ended, because there were so many times where I was watching the show and I thought they were gonna cut away to the credits. It's like, the episode can't be over yet, can it? Because it's an hour. Episode 7 is an hour and 40 minutes. That's like that's the length of a feature film.
All of them are like longer than normal TV episodes.
Yeah, they're like an hour 15, an hour 20, an hour.
Except episode 3. Episode 3 clocks in at just about like 55 minutes.
That's still a full hour of TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's more like HBO standard.
Yeah.
That's more casual.
That one's more like Stranger Things standard also, because Stranger Things, the first 3 seasons they don't pass an hour in length.
I'm just thinking of like Moon Knight, where it has episodes that are 39 minutes long. And I'm like, we are getting fed even in the shortest episodes on the season.
Mm-hmm. The episodes that I think to Ben's point, there are a few times. Specifically, I remember watching the episode where Hopper gets thrown in with the Demogorgon. When it zooms in on the Demogorgon and it holds the black just long enough for me to think, oh, did we just cut the credits?
Mm-hmm.
There's
There's a couple of times there where they're just like, "Oh, we're gonna end here, right? This feels like the natural end of the episode," and then it kept going. I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually quite like the length of the episodes personally.
Yeah, I was actually glad that every time it was like, "Hey, because every time it cut to black for a little bit and then it went to the next scene, it was kind of like putting a button on those characters because we have like it's Stranger Things. There's overarching storylines. There's
a lot of characters.
There's like a lot of characters, a lot of things going on. And I was actually after we got with Joyce, Dennis, and Hopper, and then we go to the kids trying to get the teens out of the Upside Down, and then we cut to 11 and her memories, and we find out exactly what's been happening.
Oh, Dennis. His name is Dennis. The bearded guy. His name is Dennis with the glasses.
Dennis.
What you said? You said Joyce, Dennis, and Hopper.
Did I say Dennis?
I don't know.
I didn't mean Dennis.
Murray is the name.
Yeah, Murray. Murray's the guy.
I heard Dennis. I apologize. I didn't mean to derail you. I heard Joyce, Dennis, and Hopper.
Oh no, that's fine. That's totally fine. I meant just saying Joyce. Maybe I was trying to say Dustin, but I didn't say Dustin. I don't know. Either way, Joyce, Joyce, Murray, and Hopper.
Yes. Sorry.
There we go. Yeah, after them, and then we cut to Dustin. Maybe I did say Dennis. I meant Dennis. I said Dennis when I meant to say Dustin. Okay. Dustin, Lucas, and Erica trying to get trying to get the teens out of the Upside Down. It was because every time it cut to black, I was like, "No, this can't be the end. There has to be more." And then there was more. I'm like, "Okay, good. There's more."
Okay, we're bouncing around a lot. Let's talk about our overall impressions of how we felt about the season before we go into it. I love the season. I love it a lot. I like it more than I like season 3. I still think season 1 is the best. That's like, that's like perfect television right there, that first little season. I have the same problems that I have from season 3, where there's too many characters and sometimes some of the characters get left behind. But the difference is this season, I didn't mind it as much. The things that not the lesser characters, I don't want to say that, the things that the lesser plot elements that are happening, when people aren't doing the stranger things, maybe they're just like doing like going to like a girl's house or something. I still found that fun because the characters that were there. I love Argyle. I think he's great. I think he's fantastic. I can see why people don't like him. He is very much like an 80s Cheech and Chong stereotype, but like, I like those characters. I think they're funny and it's just kind of realistic and relatable. So like even the stuff that I didn't like as much, I was still having a good time. So overall, I really like the season. I connected with it pretty hard.
Yeah, I'm not as hot on it as you are. I really liked the things that I like about the season. I really liked. Like I love everything that's going on in Hawkins, and I really like everything that's going on with Elle. Like, but every time we cut to Mike post Elle leaving, and every time we cut to Russia, I stop caring.
Oh yeah, I
just
get it.
Don't care about that stuff. And like I like Joyce and Murray a lot. I like them together. I think they're fun, but the thing is, I want to be clear. It's not that I think what's happening there is bad. It's just I really need those last 2 episodes to see how this comes together, because as it stands, I just don't see the point of separating Mike from the rest of the group and Hawkins, of bringing Joyce to Russia. Like I just don't get what we're doing here, and I'm fully willing to be like, I need those last 2 episodes. I need to see how these 2 come together to know whether or not I like these subplots or not.
That's fair. Yeah.
I'll feed off you. I like 3/4 of the show a lot. And then I really don't care for a quarter. And the quarter is mostly wherever Mike is.
Yeah, he is. Here's
the thing.
The weakest. Yeah.
On top of everything, Mike sucks. Mike sucked in season 3. He still sucks.
Yeah.
And now he's boring.
Yes.
Not only does he suck, but now he's boring. So like, I just don't even like, if Mike was taken out of the show, I wouldn't give a shit at this point. Like, I don't care. Nobody else seems to care that Mike's not around. So like, I just, Mike's involvement is killing the momentum for me.
They only talk about that group in relation to Elle. They never talk about like, oh, I wish Mike and Will were here. They always just like, we had Elle.
Did you guys see that? This is really funny. So the camera footage of Elle getting pranked, that's on Will's birthday.
Yes. Oh, I saw this. Yeah, and the writers
creators-
straight up.
The creators forgot Will's birthday in the show, which was a joke in the show that they forget his birthday, but they actually did it because they didn't have anything to do with Will for the show, for the season.
Yeah.
So like, I 100% agree. Like the stuff like, poor Will, that kid was like a focus on season 1 that he's had nothing to do for 6 years, I feel like almost.
And the thing is, like, I find Will this season to be more engaging than Mike. And I think, and I kind of do chalk this up to Finn Wolfhard's performance in this. I don't think he's doing a very good job acting in this season.
I think he might have gotten worse as an actor.
I think so too, or at least specifically doesn't care about what's happening to his character.
I don't blame him. Like his
He's
character
not
was
doing
written like an asshole for all of season 3 and never really got better. And now he's still an asshole. He just hasn't learned how to think about anybody but himself still. He went from being like the guy who thought about the entire friend group in a caring way, and now he doesn't give a shit about anybody but himself.
Yeah. It's good to your point, Ryan, about like Argyle. Like I think I would like Argyle and
Jonathan
more if they weren't paired with Mike, because that subplot is hurt by the fact that Mike is just an asshole and I don't give a shit.
I think putting half of the cast on the other side of the country was a mistake.
Yes.
It is this problem that when you have a huge cast like this is unfortunately what happens. Like you have to break them up. But we've had 3 seasons where like they've been doing their own things, but they're all still like feeding the same story. Yeah. And it feels like we're having to jump through loops to make Mike and the California kids be in service of the story that's happening in Hawkins. Oh no, I agree. I agree with. Yeah.
I think that was just fundamentally a mistake. I think especially knowing that like Hopper was going to be in Russia and you were going to send characters to go get Hopper out of Russia. That's already taking some of them out of the space of Hawkins anyway, but that at least makes some sense. Yeah. So I think the idea to have moved so many of the characters away. I mean, like Elle very quickly is no longer in California. Mm-hmm. And now is again separated from the group for a different reason and in a different place. And then you got a chunk of that group going to Russia. I'm like, why didn't we just leave the other kids in Hawkins so that it's at least feeding that same story?
Right. I felt myself.
It's doing like, I enjoy Argyle too. There are some funny bits that are happening with the California kids, but like they're doing very minimal service to all those characters. Worst of all to Mike. But like Will's subtext right now, his queer subtext is. I wish it was like clear it was going to be an arc, but it looks like it's just kind of like the barest bones of what they decided to give him to have something.
Bro, it's such a bummer because like Will's character now is he gay? That's his character.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a character. He's like, he's flirting with Mike and Mike doesn't realize it. Like that's like, listen, like even the actor and people are and he's young, like he doesn't realize what he's saying, but like him and Millie Bobby Brown, Noah Schnapp, the actor playing Will, he's like, we wanted to leave it ambiguous so people can read into it, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's 2022. Like, kids need to know that this is real and it's not ambiguous and it's something you can just think about. Like,
right. Yeah. And like, if that is supposed to be ambiguous, then I don't even know what's going on.
It's just like, then throughout the seasons, they've been like, last season, I was like, Mike's like, you don't even like girls, Will, or whatever, right? So like, that's like, that can be something. But they're not doing anything with other than he might like his best friend. I think that's all they're doing.
I think the shitty thing is that we're, as far as like just Mike and Will, we're basically retreading the same water from season 3, which is that Will was like, "Hey, we were the closest to each other of the group, and now I'm back, and you're not really engaging with me." And Mike's like, "Oh yeah, maybe I need to work on that," but Mike doesn't. And then we're here in season 4, and it's the same thing. Still happening.
See, I spent the whole season, whenever we would jump to California, being like, why didn't they just go to Hawkins? Why wasn't it the other way around? Why did Mike come to California? Why didn't Will and Elle go to Hawkins? Because they have more friends there. Why don't they just go to Hawkins? And that leaves Joyce free in California to go off and do her Russian thing.
And Jonathan could go see Nancy.
But
then we have to do the dumb, but what if Steve and Nancy get back together thing, which they shouldn't do.
No.
I don't think they need to do that. Like, and let me talk about Jonathan, because poor Jonathan last season didn't have a lot to do either. And I would agree, he still doesn't have a lot to do here. But now he's like a stoner pothead, and I think he's really funny. I think he's funny this season, and I really like him and Argyle. And like, it makes sense. Like, to be like a young, lost teenager, like with Argyle, like that is the most relatable character in this entire show. Like, I am Jonathan. I've been Jonathan, right? So like, I get that character, and like the stuff with Nancy, I'm like, this is like just drama for no reason. Like, they're split up, and then they have to put it in, like, the writers are putting in the characters' heads, hey, maybe Steve and Nancy need to get back together. But nobody's thinking that. Nobody's thinking that.
I will say that I think it's a little heavy-handed with Eddie and Robin throwing Steve and Nancy at each other.
Yes.
I think that part is heavy-handed.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to believe that there's maybe a little more thought to what they're doing with Nancy and Steve, which I think is... And I think this is very like representative of their age, where you start to get reminiscent about things that you screwed up and how did you end up where you are, and what if I could change and go back down that path. And you're not normally in a situation where you're still in the vicinity of an ex like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like things have happened and changed. And I think that there's a worthwhile reason to have those characters contemplate, because they're both for different reasons in a place of wondering, man, what if I'd zigged instead of zagged?
That's a good point.
And I think that's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that plot point. Even necessarily, I'm not going to say I necessarily have a problem with Steve and Nancy ultimately trying again. I'm not against that. I do think it's being heavy-handed with the way that it's pushing the characters towards it.
Yes.
But I really think like that is something that you do at that point in your life, especially if you have an ex that's still in your vicinity, is you start to question, oh, maybe I made a mistake and I'm a different person now and I could be better at this. Is this actually what I wanted? Because that's definitely the arc they're doing with Steve. Because Steve's blatantly saying like, what's the point of meaningless sexual rendezvous right now? And the only relationship he's really had that's been stable prior to that, all that, was Nancy. So having her right in front of him is definitely like, I get where they're coming from with that.
I do too. I just think it's I think it's the heavy-handed of like, hey, Eddie, who is this new character who just met Steve. He's like, wow, I think you love Nancy, isn't that right? And it's like, the writers told you to say that. Eddie wouldn't say that. Come on. Like, they are definitely pushing that agenda as opposed to like letting it feel natural.
I like the idea of why Eddie says what he says, which is that how quickly Nancy went into the water for you.
Yes.
Means something. I just wish it was worded again. Like, it's the heavy-handedness. The idea is good. The idea of what Robin's saying is good. Like Robin being able to notice you're looking at Steve kind of weird. That's okay. Yeah. Like, I think that's all fine. It's just like going a little too hard on those concepts.
I'll allow the Robin one because that's like his like best friend, and she would notice that shit.
Right.
Yeah.
She's also very bad at social cues.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and she just
in love with the character.
And she just wants Steve's happiness. And if there's a possibility that that's Steve's happiness, then she'll push him towards it. So,
real quick, I want to talk about, because Ben, do you have any thoughts on the California crew? Certainly, you would probably agree the weakest of the season. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, what I was going to say was that I as much as I love this season, there are parts of it that I'm not just the biggest fan of. I was definitely say I'm kind of sick and tired of them splitting the party up. Splitting the party up again, because they did that in season 2 and they kind of did it in season 3, but season 3, as far as I remember, wasn't as egregious. I mean, they're still in the same town at least,
but they were doing different things, but they were all in the same vicinity.
I think just real quick to your point, Ben, I think the thing is, I've lost the concept. We lost it in season 3 that Will was still friends with everyone. Now I've lost the concept that Mike is friends with anyone. Yeah. Like, he plays D&D with us, and I don't believe he's friends with him or Lucas. Mm-hmm. Like, that doesn't seem important to either of the characters anymore.
The stuff with Lucas is so good, and I'm like, you're doing that with Lucas. Why can't you do that with all the characters? Like, there could be a similar thing with Mike or with Will.
No, the stuff that's going on with Lucas, Dustin, Erica, I love all that stuff. Whenever it cuts to the kids at Hawkins trying to figure out the mystery of Vecna, trying to clear Eddie's name, that's my favorite bit of the season. I absolutely love that. When we go to, say, 11 and learning about her powers and trying to study, I would say that's like if I had to tier it, it would go the kids in Hawkins, 11, the Russia stuff because I care about Hopper. I want him to be. Also, I really like the character of Enzo, the Russian guard.
Oh, Jack in
Me
a
too.
car from Game of Thrones, baby. You recognize him, right?
That is Jack in
You
a
didn't
car.
recognize the man with no
I didn't-
face? Then
It's
come
the
on.
mustache, dude. It's the mustache.
He has a man with no mustache.
There are two Game of Thrones alum here. The other one is the Orderly.
Oh, right. He's name.
I forget the name of the character, but I know he's there.
He plays bad men all the time.
Yeah,
Thanks
yeah.
for
Which is
reminding
how
me.
I knew he was going to be bad in this show.
Was he also? Wasn't the Orderly also in Sweeney Todd? Because that's what
Yes.
Valen did him.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, I
so
think
young-
he's
Young Grindelborg.
Yeah, he's young Grindelwald, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He's got a great menacing look.
He does. He really does.
Anyway, you're saying, Ben.
Yeah, I was saying it's like all this stuff. It goes Hawkins, 11 trying to get your powers back, the Russia stuff, and then the California stuff. Like the only time the California stuff I was really kind of getting interested in was when the military maybe shows up and Argyle's freaking out.
Yeah.
Because at first Argyle, I definitely grew to really like Argyle because at first I was like, man, this guy is so annoying, and so it's like really he's just the typical stoner kid. But then like later on, it's like okay, he does bring like a bit of a comedic element to it, especially like when they're going to Susie's house and he's like, it's like yeah, just be careful. They're really just like, what man, I'm spiritual.
I had a similar feeling towards to what you said about Argyle to Eddie. I don't like Eddie in his first scene. I thought he was too abrasive, and I was like, oh, he's probably just going to be a dick the whole time. But then they did the scene with him and Chrissy. I was like, oh, you're very charming,
Well,
actually.
This show is so good at introducing you to characters, thinking they're the worst, and then making them great. Because they did it with
Yeah.
Steve, and they did it with Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Because like when we see the scene with Chrissy, with Eddie and Chrissy is so damn charming that I was just like, damn, dude. All right, you got me.
Yeah, I really like Eddie.
I really like Eddie a lot. It is funny that we have actors who started the show when they were like 12, 13, and now they're like 18, 19. The guy who plays Eddie is about to turn 30. You could tell he's around our age, and that's okay.
I appreciate that they at least acknowledge he's been held back.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is fun. It's just funny that like
it still
they look
doesn't
so
fill
good.
that age gap, but it's at least appreciated that they're not
Yeah.
trying to say he's a flat out senior.
It's just funny that they've been so good about this kind of like young hiring, and they're like, oh, we'll make this 18-year-old a 30-year-old. Like, oh, you almost had it there, but I like it a lot.
I guess I kind of want to just get through this because I feel like I'm not going to talk about it a lot after this. Without Argyle, I have no interest in the California stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Argyle is essentially what makes Jonathan interesting there.
Yeah.
I have no interest in it. I don't honestly really like the beats we're doing with Elle at the beginning. I know we're doing a Carrie homage. I know that's what we're doing.
With the skating rink.
But like I didn't need it. I feel like we could have done something not exactly copying the one for one of how Carrie's treated to Elle. I think there's like we're not in the environment long enough for me to feel like the aggressiveness isn't like just so overplayed.
Mm-hmm.
That's directed at her. There's an amount where you can't convince me that students and a teacher especially know her dad, a cop, died and let that kind of ridicule happen in the classroom.
Sure.
I just like it's so cliched pushed that it's hard for me to care.
I get it. On the other hand, like it's very much doing the 80s thing of like bullies are really bad.
I get it. Again, like I get that.
And it's outside of the classroom where the incident happens, so like parents wouldn't be there. So like
sure, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the initial one where Angela is giving her shit when she's talking about my dad is my hero.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's that it's like it's to a degree where I'm like the whole student body has to be so into doing this, and the teacher has to be so okay with this on a level that it's just like I can't. It's a little too corny. It's just a little too corny for me, and it's happening too fast.
That's fair. I think of Spider-Man 1 with the Flash fighting Spider-Man and all the students are around him and no teacher was there to stop him. So like this is a scene like this is like just doesn't bother me. Like I can get why it bothers you. Like
well, in Sparks's in defense of Sparks's opinion there, not that you need it, Sparkz, but like in defense of it, it's like Stranger Things is not one to do what Spider-Man did, right? Spider-Man, it leans into a corniness that it wants to. Spider-Man leans into a more comic book kind of ridiculous world. The Stranger Things doesn't necessarily do. It does try to be a little bit more realistic than something. No, but you know what I mean? Like the characters are often grounded in a more realistic place than something like than we've seen before in this show.
Sure.
The character beats come from something real. Whereas the California bullies feel like they have come from a 1980s movie about bullying. And that does, and I agree with Sparkz, it does for me also when it's revealed that it's known that her dad is a dead cop, that nobody in the classroom has a moment where it's like, okay, now we're a little uncomfortable.
It's the teacher that gets me. It's the teacher that gets me when like they're giving her shit.
Yeah, everyone is
teacher
okay with it.
I'm like, there's even in the most cliche thing like dead cop, like whether it should or not, would trump that conversation down. Like, but the more important problem with that for me is that I don't feel like we get to spend enough time with Elle in that environment, or that it's informing enough of the majority of the story we're doing with her for the season.
Sure, I understand that.
Sure, for me.
Yeah. Sure. I kind of agree with you there. I'm not crazy about Elle's story until she leaves California, which is why I kind of spent most of the time just being like, why didn't she just go to Hawkins for spring break? Yeah. All of her friends are there. She hates it in California. Just go to Hawkins for spring break.
For like, you know, like what's the FBI word where like you relocate to save your family or whatever. Like,
yeah, but she can still
protection.
Witness protection. I get wanting to leave the state. Like that makes sense to me.
I'm not saying that doesn't. I'm not saying her leaving Hawkins at the end of season 3 makes total sense. But you're not in witness protection. She is officially not in a witness protection program. She could just go to Hawkins for spring break. And that could be where she interacts with the story and then gets taken out to go do her thing with Brenner and what's his name? Owens. That's all good stuff. I'm into that stuff. Just kind of like leaving her in California so far away from the action in the beginning and then constantly leaving her out of it. It's just that beginning stuff that I'm just kind of like, at the end of the day, there's just nothing in California that works for me in this season.
Sure.
I like Susie a lot. I'm glad she's back.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's a good inclusion.
I liked her bit when she's like, I was racked with guilt for changing the grade, and my dad took away my computer, and he was so furious with me.
That was
cute. He got a confession and realized I was dating an agnostic. Agnostic.
That was cute.
Atheist.
He says agnostic.
They say agnostic.
Do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I watched this at 4.
It's okay.
I think this isn't a complaint. I don't know what the hell's happening at Susie's house. It's chaos.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It's not a complaint. It's not a complaint. I don't know what's happening.
It's just cheaper by the dozen. A lot of kids.
Babysitting goes around. I kind of like Eden for a hot second. Like I love how Argyle is just smitten with Eden the second he sees her.
Eden, that's a fun bit.
Ali Sheedy from The Breakfast Club, you mean? Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I like to. It's a fun bit, just them walking through the house and just seeing a different chaotic energy happening. I quite enjoyed that scene.
I like the Russia stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all could have happened quicker.
Yeah.
Like I think we could already be at I think two episodes before we actually see Hopper and Joyce reunited, we could have seen Hopper and Joyce reunited. I just think like we padded a lot of time there that I don't think we had to.
I also felt that same way. I think that was my issue with the Russia stuff, was it just kind of kept cutting away abruptly. And with a show with over, as we talked about, mostly longer than an hour episodes, it felt strangely like padding in a season that I just don't think had necessarily needed to pad. And I don't think for the most part it does. It just kind of felt like when like it's 2 episodes, right? It's 2 episodes. The last 2 episodes they feed them, and then the next episode they put them in the cage with the Demogorgon.
Mhm.
I kept going like, why isn't this just happening in 1 episode?
I think that's a good point. I think that part of what hurts the pacing of these long episodes is that they feel the need to check in on every main story point in each episode, and I don't think we do need to. I think that there could have been an episode where we didn't touch California, or an episode where we didn't touch Russia, and then you pick up on a lot of it on the next one, and I don't think that would have been a problem. But the way that it feels the need to constantly interject all of them in an episode, I think hurts the pacing.
Yeah, I would agree with that not to the extent. Like, there are episodes where things are focused on, but there are definitely episodes where like you have to progress the story for this other side, so it has to happen regardless, which is unfortunate. I really like the Russia stuff. It might be padding, but like I think it's the best character work happening with Hopper and Drakanagar, Enzo.
Right.
I really like Hopper, his whole journey. I like that he becomes defeated, and then he becomes like the savior. I think the battle with the Demogorgon is really fun. I can just listen to him and Enzo talk for hours. Like, and they don't even have to do anything. I just love that they're different ideologies, and like the Russians are like, we are the strongest. We're always strong. You got to stay positive. You got to stay strong. And he's just like, dude, it's over. We've lost. And then through that, Hopper learns like, no, actually, I have something worth fighting for. And it is, why does a housewife from the middle of the country need to go to Russia? It's Stranger Things. Like, they end up in an alternate universe. Like, who cares? Like, the stuff with Murray and Yuri, I adore. I love Yuri so much. I am so glad he was in that show longer than I thought. What an asshole. What a beautiful, beautiful asshole. I love it. I had so much fun in Russia.
Yeah.
Can't complain, honestly.
I like all of the Russia stuff that's happening. I just think that we could have gotten up to the point that we did sooner.
And I just want to be clear, like, even though I didn't like the Russia stuff, I don't, for me, I just need to see the resolution to it to know if it really worked for me, which will happen in part 2.
Well, this is the resolution kind of happened.
No, because we're still.
I think he means like the resolution of how that's going to tie into the Vecna story.
That's what I'm talking about. They're
going to come back to Hawkins and be involved. Like, it is something I'm wondering, because this is another reason why I'm like, I feel like we maybe should have gotten to the point that we're at with Hopper and Joyce and Murray a little sooner, is because I'm like, I know they're big episodes, but we got 2 episodes left. Are they going to get back and be a part of this story, or are they just not going to be a part of this story?
No, honestly,
and real quickly, Ryan, did anyone watch the teaser for the next part? Because it plays after the episode.
It played immediately. So
So they're still in Russia, at least in the next episode. They're still in Russia, and they're still discovering things that we see. There's Demogorgons and tanks, and they see, like, they're still in Russia, and like, I'm totally fine with that. I just need to know how it all kind of comes together at the end, which I'm sure it will. Just for me right now, I just kind of felt like it was meandering. And as much as I do really like Hopper, and I like Enzo, and I like Yuri's fun, and I like Murray and Joyce, I'm just still kind of left wondering at the end of these episodes, what was really the point of doing this storyline? Because I'm still kind of, at the end of the day, I'm still kind of wondering, like, kind of what I came out of season 3. It's been a while since season 3, admittedly. I just kind of don't understand what we're doing with the commies. What are the communists doing in this show at this point? I just don't really get it. And I need those last 2 episodes to really just kind of solidify that. And that's kind of where I'm waiting for this.
Sure. Very much like, it's like the Marvel thing, like, oh, we got to wait and see. I don't feel that way. And I'm glad I don't. Because even though the story isn't finished, I am satisfied with what I got. I'm glad I did watch the next on, because I just assumed it was going to be shitty, and it was going to be like Avengers Endgame. Not that Avengers Endgame is shitty, but like, Tony gets rescued by Captain Marvel immediately. Like, there would be no, it's just Hopper's in America the next episode. He just flies a helicopter and he's back with the team, right? I'm glad they're not doing that, because that would feel like all of this was worthless then. So I am glad they're sticking with Russia, because like, the Russians were building gates and they were doing crazy shit. So like, there is still more stuff to discover. I'm not worried about everything tying together. Because
I didn't say I was worried. I'm still just trying to be clear here. This because Hopper says the fact that this thing is here means that this isn't over. It means that I'm still protecting Elle.
Mhm.
And that's the kind of thing where that's where I'm like, okay, we're still connected here. What's happening with the Demogorgons in Russia is connected to what's happening to Vecna. I just kind of I need to see that connection. I need those last 2 episodes to show me that connection so that I know that because it did feel so meandering. I'm just kind of still like, why are we still doing this?
See, for me, it's like reading a great comic book, and I know the next issue is coming, so I am not in that not that you're in a negative space. That's what I'm saying, but I am in a positive space. I just didn't feel like anything was meandering. I just really enjoyed all the character stuff. Yeah. Ben,
Let's move on.
I know you're sleeping.
About the Russia stuff. So, at first the Russia stuff, I wouldn't say meh on, but every time we cut back to Hopper in prison, Hopper trying to get out, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, he's stuck in Russia. But one of the things I do really appreciate is how he got to Russia, because I remember at the end of when we first saw the teaser with Hopper with his bald head and he's in Russia, it's like, did the gate just poop him out of Russia or something? But he just fell down after the generator, after the thingy exploded, and the Russian soldiers found him and took him back. So,
man, that's so messed up. If Joyce had just gone in there to check,
if she just looked down,
he just looked slightly to your left.
He really should have just went through a portal, because it is a little silly that they took him from Indiana to Russia. Just put him in the portal that was there. That's what we all assumed.
Yeah.
I thought that maybe the Russians, because the Russians have a Demogorgon at the end of season 3, and we know this. Mm-hmm. So I thought that maybe they went into the Upside Down and found Hopper and took him. That's what I kind of assumed, but no, he just fell.
Yeah.
It was a little oh, he's just right there. Oh, whatever. It's cool.
It's like, oh yeah.
It's one of those questions that maybe you would have been better not answering.
Yeah, probably.
He's just in Russia, and you just have to assume. Yeah. So why don't we talk about, because I think we would all agree that the Lucas, Max, all that stuff is probably the best stuff of the show.
Everything in Hawkins is pitch perfect. Okay. So into it. Absolutely every time.
Episode 4. I was gonna say episode 4 is by far my favorite episode thus far.
Is that Dear Billy?
That's Dear Billy.
Yeah.
I think that's episode 5, isn't it?
That's episode 4.
It's episode 4. That's Robert Englund's episode.
Yeah, that is hands down the best episode of Stranger Things, I think. Mm-hmm.
This is just a me thing. Sparkz may remember this, but do you remember Kong Skull Island?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And they would always the running gag was because he was writing the letter to Toby Emmerich, or was writing a letter to his son named Billy, and they would make fun of him by going, "Dear Billy, I'm going into the storm now," and blah blah blah. So that's what I'm a nerd, I guess. Whatever.
You attach that. I see.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't know why I brought it up. I apologize.
That's okay. No. It's Dear Billy and Dear Billy.
Sorry, I can't hear anything. I have a dog. Hold on.
That's understood. I know that dog. Yeah, I really like episode 4. I really like everything happening in Hawkins, even the questionable push Steve and Nancy together stuff. I really like Nancy. I'm really glad. I feel like Nancy's more involved than Nancy's been for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I know Nancy was involved last season, and Nancy was, it always felt like Nancy was unnecessarily kept aside from most of the group.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she's just part of it.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, last season, she was doing I'm glad, because season 1 and 2 she was fine, but I don't think she had a lot to do. And then then they try to make her into an investigative journalist, and I really like that aspect of the last season. But she was kind of separated. Now she's just a really good journalist, and she's doing it with her homies, and I really like that. Her and Robin, love it. Best friend.
Pairing her with Robin was such a good choice.
Yeah.
Because we've already got her and Steve. We already got Robin and Steve. We know that relationship. We can just keep building on that relationship. But pairing her with Robin to kind of give not just Nancy a reason to kind of be more ingrained with the group, but give Robin just another connection to that group that she's now a part of. Steve, Robin, and Dustin are my MVPs of this season. Oh, they're incredible.
Max is my MVP.
She's great.
I think she has the most impactful scene in all of Stranger Things. There's no doubt in my mind.
Oh, the running up the hill scene?
Yeah, that is the
Yeah.
most emotionally impactful scene in this entire show. There's like nothing has come close. That is pure cinema. That is the stuff movies are made of. That's why I watch movies and television. A combination of music. Kieran Gillen once said the closest thing we have to magic is music, and I agree with that. Having Ben, this is a Kingdom Hearts moment. If we've ever had one in cinema, baby.
It
the
totally
power
is.
of friendship, saving the day, incredible. Like
when she's in the
visuals-
upside, when she's in the upside down at in Vecna's castle or Vecna's portal, whatever, and then she sees the bodies of Chrissy and Freddie, and she sees her friends chanting her, like calling for her to come back. It's like, oh, it was so good.
The thing I rewatched that scene because the Stranger Things account tweeted it last night. They're like, spoilers, this is that scene, and everyone's gonna know. Like, that's an incredible sequence. Well, Ryan is right. It's the best scene in the entire show. Definitely the season. And I noticed after that scene, and I don't necessarily know if it's been happening before that, but that song "Running Up the Hill" is
in the score.
In the score, and I started noticing it, and it's really well ingrained.
It is from the moment that she's listening to it the first time.
She's
good
listening to it all the time. Yeah,
I'm very happy about that because like that is such a. It's a really great rendition of that song. That the score is because it's not the exact song. The score is amplifying the emotion of it while also playing the score. It's a beautiful rendition of the song, and her running through Vecna's mind, because that's what we assume that's Vecna's mindscape. She's running through as Vecna's throwing all the things down. Is an incredible. I was on the edge of my seat, quite literally, just really into that sequence. It is an incredible scene.
Yeah,
very anime.
Very anime.
Dude, no, I would credit like that scene. That scene made me cry hardcore. I loved it. I already loved the scene. Before we got to the montage, because Max's whole deal, she lost her brother. She's hella depressed, and she is disconnected from the world. Very relatable. I get it. And then Vecna's like, you belong here, Max. Like you live here. Like you're like, you think like your friends can help you. Like you belong with me, baby. And then she has the montage, and this is only something that can happen when you have 4 seasons of a show. If Max was introduced this season, we would not have years worth of material to make a montage out of. But because we've been with this character for 3 seasons, we can have this beautiful montage of like, wow, these kids have really grown up together and they are really friends. And like, she might be going through some shit, but like Kingdom Hearts, baby, the power of friendship, the power of love, power of music. That scene alone, honestly, like negates a lot of my negatives, because like if I can have that scene in this show, then like I don't even care what bad things happen in the show. Like I got one of the most incredible things Netflix has ever given me. I thought it was insane. I also thought, real quick, because this is a show with stakes, that this absolutely could have been a time that Max could die. And it would have been really sad and impactful, and it would have been really tragic that some people just don't get to make it. And that's really sad. But you know what's even better than that? When you do get to make it through the power of friendship and love.
There's a lot of moments at the end, because after that, she starts reconnecting with Lucas, which I really appreciate, that she starts opening up more towards Lucas. Lucas has, when they're in the house, and they see like the lights flickering, and Lucas just immediately turns her headphones, and he's like, she's boom. I like that they kept doing that. And then when she's sleeping and she's like, I couldn't sleep, so people kept blaring music in my ears. That was cute. All of that stuff, very well done. I have 0 complaints about what happens in Hawkins. There's the 7th episode. The 6th episode ends with Steve in the Upside Down, and I thought we were going to lose Steve. I legitimately thought we were going to lose Steve, because as Ryan said, this is a show with stakes. Sometimes you don't make it.
Yeah.
So in that, so when the kids find out a way to get the teenagers out of the Upside Down, which I absolutely love.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that yet. I don't want, because there's things I want to talk about in the Upside Down before we get to them getting out of the Upside Down.
Who else was I going to talk? Yeah, all the stuff in Hawkins is fan bloody-tastic. Jason. I want to talk about Jason real quick.
Satanic Panic.
I hate that guy. I hate that guy so much.
Young Glenn Powell.
He is a young Owen Powell, but it's Owen Powell.
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell, thank you. But he is that. But also, I really freaking hate how he rolls a nat 20 on all of his charisma rolls.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really hate that.
Wait, isn't Jason the bully?
Yeah. But what I mean by that is that he constantly gets people fired up. It's his charisma, his charm, that he's able to get people to.
It's not charm. It's his hate.
Yeah,
because they're just a town that's sick of losing people that are dying. It's not charm because he can't charm the cops.
And they feel like the people of the town are now losing more people, and they've constantly lost people, and they all feel scared. And what he's doing is turning his hatred into a tool for their terror. And so he is able to rally it in a very, I think, realistic way of how people can become, when they're scared, they can become a mob.
Radicalized.
And he radicalizes the town. And what I like about the scene when he's radicalizing the town is the parents of all the main characters look at each other and go, "This isn't good. We need to find our kids."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it helps when you know that like your kids are good and like they've been involved in like horrible intergalactic incidents and stuff.
I think at this point they need to tell their parents what's happening.
It was nice to see the parents like actually coming together and having a conversation. I cannot believe that the parents didn't stress to them the danger that they're in.
Yeah.
Like the fact that like the town is now a mob hunting them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that like if Dustin and Max know that, they did not make that clear. They just made it seem like they just made it seem like they're in trouble with the cops.
They definitely know. There was a radio call from I don't remember which kid it was because I watched this last week. But there was a radio call like, "Hey, the town's after you," and that's when they go to the lake to try to find Eddie and stuff.
Well, that's what they tell Eddie, but they say that just Jason's after you. They don't know when they get caught by the cops later. We don't see a moment where they're told the whole town is now riled up to find you.
Yeah,
because you're members of the Hellfire Club. That they're looking for Dustin, they're looking for Lucas.
That's true.
They don't do that. They don't like those parents don't have the moment where they stress they're hunting you. They are hunting you.
Yeah.
That's not a good point. That's just something that like those parents should have said. And like maybe it is something they know, but they don't make it that clear in the show. But either way, like that's just me judging the character of the parents and saying those parents need to tell their kids what danger they're in.
I think we need to be at the end of the season, the kid, because at this point the parents still don't know what's like the truth of what's been happening in Hawkins. I think at this point the kids need to sit down with their parents and tell them exactly what's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting to the point where it's like I'm sorry, it's not Brenner, what is it, Owens, the good doctor?
Owens
is like, it's the end of the world, Elle. We need you to save the world. Once we're at that point in the story, maybe start bringing in somebody who's over 15 years old.
Well, and I specifically think that like that's where Joyce could come in really well, because I think Joyce needs to sit down with the other parents because she's been involved since day one. Yeah. Like I think whatever the resolution of the Russian arc happens and she's back in Hawkins, she needs to have a conversation with the parents, and they need to have the proof of Elle having her powers. Just be like, so that way in the next season, the parents can be more involved and not necessarily still be on the. We don't need any more visual gags of the dad going, "Oh, my son's going to hell," as you're reading the newspaper. Like we don't need that anymore.
Although I do like it. I love that dad so much.
Mike's piece of shit dad.
Mike's piece of shit dad.
I love his piece of shit dad so much.
Yeah.
He's like, we're number of little jail time. That'll loosen the lips. You want to send our kids to jail? Really?
I doubt that's something that happens until sometime in season 5 that they if it even happens at all.
Yeah. You know what I feel is going to happen? I got a feeling that like we're going to have like a townspeople versus demigorgons. Like they all got their pitchforks. Like the end of the season, the last episode's like it's Hawkins versus the underground or whatever. Like I see it in my brain.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
I liked the way they did Jason stuff because you knew he was garbage from the moment he comes out and does the speech, and he's like, "We lost all these people, and when we were playing that basketball game, we knew that they wanted us to win." And I'm like, "You are the worst.
We're gonna win for all those dead people." Like half the crowd loves it, and then the smart people are like, "It's kind of gross."
Yeah, he's got that hometown hero ego.
And the thing about like having Chrissy, being like, why would Chrissy be with Eddie? It's like, oh, she wouldn't do something like that. She wouldn't. He was that was his girlfriend, and he had no idea what was happening with her. He didn't care. He just has this. He just like she was better than that. She would never have been with him. So he clearly like seduced her and killed her.
Was your read that Chrissy was pregnant?
Yeah, that was my read.
Okay, that was Megan's read too.
Oh.
Interesting. I just saw the clock and I was like,
I thought she was
Vecna's coming for her.
It was
I thought it was
the
like a Laura
it's the
Palmer
vomiting
tweet.
scene. It's the vomiting scene that put that in the mind.
Oh, I thought she was just really scared.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but that's a good point because everyone that Vecna kills has a trauma, and finding out you're pregnant at that age is traumatic.
Why?
So that could have been what.
What is
Thing
she?
is, at first I thought it was. At first I thought her trauma was that she's pregnant. She doesn't want to get pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
But then, as when we see Vecna and the clock and the trauma, and we hear her mom call her a fat little pig.
Yes.
So she's not.
That's a good point.
Yes.
So she's not throwing up because she's pregnant. She's throwing up because she's trying to lose weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see her dad. We do see her family in Vecna in her trance. That's a good point.
Because again,
I don't think she was pregnant.
She's buying drugs from Eddie, and I don't think a pregnant woman would do that. Even if she doesn't want the baby, I don't think she'd be going to buy weed.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah.
I think they would have. That's a good read, though. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, because normally when you're in high school, you hear someone throwing up the bathroom, and especially it's a woman, you think, oh, she's pregnant. That happens in high school. But then, as I was listening to her trance with Vecna, under her curse, and I heard her mom, because her trauma is her mom yelling at her that she has to be thin.
Good catch.
So it's like, oh.
I don't know if I would agree that like the go-to is that a girl is pregnant rather than that they have an eating disorder. I feel like that's far more common. But the reason why I know like pregnancy came up is because it felt like there was something off about Jason and like the way she looked at him specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was also kind of indulging in like that read, and is that possible?
I really liked how Max learns that she's also under Vecna's curse.
Mm-hmm.
The montage of learning about, she sees the other symptoms with the other kids who died, and she realizes, oh, because it was really genius about that is that the audience isn't cued into that because we don't catch that those are the symptoms.
Yeah.
We just see she's got a headache, she's taking some aspirin. We don't catch that those also happen to the other two characters because we don't spend enough time with them. And then once we see them, and then Max is flashing back, and then the best sound design of the show so far has been, I think, the clock.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear the clock ding, and it's kind of like this echoing.
Wow.
Yeah,
that distorted clock chime.
Well,
So
because what's so good about it is because if it makes that sound and you don't see anything, you know they're seeing something.
Yes. It's a very good sound effect that every single time, and then you realize that she's been under the curse this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really great reveal that kind of sent chills down my spine.
I really like the visual of the clock in the coffin.
Me too.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was one of the best uses of like where the clock was. There were a lot of good ones, but that was one of my favorites.
The one in the tree kind of got me. It was pretty scary.
Very bold, well done Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. They're not hiding it. They
this season
has Nightmare on Elm Street on purpose.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons Robert Englund's in the season. It's why they reference it. They know what they're doing.
Victor Creel sounds very close to Victor Creed, Marvel's own psychopath.
I really like his appearance. I really like his story.
Me too.
And also, what I love about his story is that it makes the first teaser trailer make sense. Like, remember the first teaser trailer was a scene of his family going into the house?
Yeah.
I don't, but
I do. I was thinking about that whole time. I was like, how the hell does that house from that first teaser come into play? I knew it had to because I knew that the clock was from that house. And so like the whole time I was thinking to myself, to kind of bounce off what you were talking about, the whole time I was thinking to myself was like, okay, well, if Vecna killed this family in 30 years ago, why did he stop there? Why didn't he continue? And why is he doing that now? And then the reveal being that he was the kid from that family.
How early did you guys clock, if you did, who Vecna was? Did you guys clock it earlier, or was it?
Do you mean that? I need to clarify. Do you mean that I clocked that he was the orderly, or I clocked he was Creel's son? Because those are two different things.
Either, sure, either.
I clocked he was the orderly very early.
I knew it the second he appeared on screen because I know that actor only plays serial killers.
I knew pretty early that the orderly was one, but I didn't clock that one was the kid until we see Nancy in the flashback.
There are three things leading to Vecna. Yeah. You got one, you got the orderly, you got the being the kid, and they all tied to the same thing, and I love it.
Yeah, I didn't clock necessarily that, because like the whole time I was thinking to myself, like, okay, could Vecna have created the Upside Down? Is he like the person that like that did that? In which case, how does he relate to this family? So I caught that the orderly was one, but I didn't catch that the orderly was also Vecna.
I thought it was going to be for some reason I forgot like that it was like flashback stuff was happening during the flashback stuff. I kept forgetting that, like, because we're seeing 11 as her age now instead of like the CGI version that she's actually supposed to be. So I kept forgetting that like this is the past.
Oh, it's her cousin actually. It's not CGI.
They do CGI her face.
Do they CGI?
Yeah, I saw the.
Yeah, they CGI touch up her face to look more like Millie
because
Bobby
I saw just the behind the scenes footage, and her cousin just looks like her. It looks pretty good.
They look close, but there's CGI touch ups.
You could definitely. There's shots there's one specific shot. It looks really good. There's one specific shot where it does not look good. But it doesn't bother me whatsoever. And I had a point and I lost it, but that's okay. I just think Vecna's great.
You were talking about the flashback stuff for Elle.
Yes, sorry, yeah. So the orderly, I kept forgetting that was in the past. So I was like, how is this guy also Vecna? Is this just his physical form, and he has a evil corporeal form? That's
they were throwing you off with,
and they're throwing me off.
Adult Millie Bobby Brown. I thought that was actually really, really smart. The way that like every once in a while, I'm really glad they made the decision to like let you see the young version, like what she actually was at the time. In certain moments, because I thought it was actually really important it made her seem literally, like obviously literally smaller, but like how small she really was at the time when she was going through this stuff is impactful. So I'm glad that they went out of their way to have moments where they very much illuminated that to you.
Ben, what year? Yeah. When did you catch on?
I was going to say when I clocked Vecna and the orderly were one the same was episode 7.
No, that's okay.
I didn't clock it
when they told you.
Well, actually, not when they told me, because when I was watching episode 7 and I saw the orderly, and I was like, could he be Vecna? Like when she takes the tracker out of him, and the second he goes, something so small could cause so many problems. I'm like, oh, something's wrong here. This guy's got some problems. And I was like, could he be Vecna? And then I think, no, it can't be Vecna because Vecna was in the 50s. And then we see the kid, and the kid's talking. It's like, oh shit, he is Vecna. He was the one who did all of this. He's
when Nancy is taken from when Nancy is put under a spell, and she is taken through his memories of as a child, which is actually a really cool bit that Vecna 1 is telling Elle his life story, and then we see it through Nancy. Was really really well done. But that's when I clocked, somehow this orderly is Vecna. But I clocked pretty early that the orderly was one.
I love that there's so many ways like that it makes you think like, Victor Creel, maybe he's the physical body for Vecna, right? And he's trapped in here or whatever. Like so many avenues that could have gone. Really good, like fun mystery. We've had so many shows recently that we've watched where like there's a mystery at the end. But this is like maybe my favorite one where I'm like, I think Vecna, first of all, he is a practical effect. The CGI tentacle stuff is CGI, but like that is a full practical suit. Looks incredible the entire time. I love the way he looks. I just think he's like really compelling. And what's cool is like we still have a bigger bad that is probably just more a primordial evil, not like a personality bad. but like I kind of hope Vecna doesn't get killed this season because like I want to know more, so much more.
They say in this season that Vecna is a general for the Mind Flayer. So the Mind Flayer is still like the ultimate big bad.
But that doesn't mean shit because that's just Dustin making a theory. That doesn't mean it's fact.
There's some theories in this season that's brought up that I'm not 100% sure. Like I'm also with Dustin. Like if I was I do think that there's nothing in this show that says that any of Dustin's theories can't be taken as fact. We've been sitting with the same theories in season 3.
Real quick. Like the theories are just Dungeons and Dragons. They play Dungeons and Dragons and they're just mapping it directly to real life. So like
and they've been right up until they've been right before.
They have been right.
So seeing like how the Mind Flayer being like the ultimate big bad, because it is still curious how the Mind Flayer and Vecna are connected, and so like I am inclined to believe that Dustin is right that the Mind Flayer is controlling Vecna in a way, because the Mind Flayer doesn't, if I remember correctly, season 2 implies that the Mind Flayer doesn't actually come from the Upside Down; it comes from something else. I guess he arrives in the Upside Down in the beginning of season 2.
It's
been a while.
No, so I think you're right. I think you're right. But
I think now, because we're right here, I guess we need to talk about the theory that Vecna is the Mind Flayer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a theory?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Ryan, can you lean to your left? Doesn't that look like a spider?
It does.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of where it's stemming from.
Yeah.
Is that Vecna may actually be the origin host for the Mind Flayer.
Sure, and we do know that the Mind Flayer, if I am remembering correctly, and that the Mind Flayer came from somewhere else, then Vecna also came from somewhere else, which was the right.
Okay, so
right side up. Was it called the real world? The right side up.
Yeah. The thing is, if I'm recalling season 3 semi correctly, the Mind Flayer doesn't talk to Elle the way that I would assume number 1 would, with the history we now know. So if that was the Mind Flayer speaking on Elle in season 3, then that wouldn't line up to me personally.
Sure, and there's a couple. Go ahead.
I think it's an interesting theory nonetheless. I do think that there's a valid point. A lot of the reason why some people are suspecting it is because I don't know how you make a more personal villain at this point for one more season than Vecna, now that we know who they are fully. Yeah. I don't know how you make a stronger, more concrete, more present villain for the kids.
I agree. It's a part of me where like I really like the small personal villain, but I do want at least one more big kaiju. I want one more of that of a demi god of some kind. So there's a part of me that I do hope there is a bigger threat, but Vecna can still be the personal villain of the show. But like like a cosmic threat that like you just kill, you don't really talk to.
I do think that that Dustin is right, that the Mind Flayer could be the big bad, because it's not dead. They didn't kill it at the end of season 2, at the end of season 3. They just defeated it. And there was one theory that I'm not sure is true that they have in this show, which is that the Upside Down is in the past, because they say that everything in 1983. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think whoever created the Upside Down, that's 1983 Hawkins was cloned into the Upside Down, and it's obviously, as nobody lives in there, so it's not going to update, right?
Well, that's more or less what I'm thinking as well. Is that it doesn't. It's not like they're portaling to the past because they're talking to Dustin in the present.
Yeah, it is a. Let's talk about the Upside Down, because this season opens it up into something that that it's more than I thought it was, or less, depending on the way you think about it. I thought it was just another dimension, right?
Right.
It's not just another dimension. It is a time capsule of the day that the Upside Down was opened up in Hawkins from 1983. It is a stagnant.
No. It is a time capsule of the day Will went into.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Which is a different thing. But that's a different thing because Elle opened up that gate 3 years earlier. So the gate from Hawkins into the Upside Down is opened when she pushes one in.
Yes.
Which is
yes.
3 years before Will goes in, which is 3 years before 1983.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it's specifically Hawkins cloned the day Will goes through.
Okay, still sorry. It is still that what I'm talking about. It is
Yes.
a time capsule of the past.
Yeah, I agree.
The thing that confuses me now is if this was created, how does that the Mind Flayer come from an alternate universe or wherever into this created statehood? That's what I'm wondering, because like the Mind Flayer wasn't created when this happened, as far as we can tell.
Yeah.
And apparently, like this, like the Upside Down might have existed for millions of years, but this specific thing was created. So is this a pocket dimension that we're dealing with from the Upside Down that's not really the Upside Down?
Well, that's so I forgot that the first season was set in 83. So I thought that the so I was running with the theory that maybe Vecna created the Upside Down for a little bit, because like maybe that's why it exists as 1983. It exists as a clone of 1983 Hawkins. But then there are creatures that live inside of it. So then is the idea that when Will went into the Upside Down, it just stopped updating? Like, because we talked about this a lot, where like Hawkins, the Upside Down, nothing changes in the Upside Down, but everything changes. So when Will goes through, did that stop the progression of the Upside Down?
Yeah, you know what? That literally might be it. You might be onto something. Like the Upside Down might have been opened or established or whatever when Vecna went through, but when Will went through, when a regular person, that might have effed up everything in the Upside Down and stopped it. So that's why Vecna's doing everything to get control back of his world, because we've interfered with it. Does that make sense?
Maybe that does make sense, and that could be something.
It's interesting to wonder, what is it about? I guess it wouldn't have to necessarily. Will's not the first person who goes in. Will's just the person who, like, it becomes a big deal that he got taken in.
He's just the one it happens to.
Right, but we see people working for the scientists going through the gate and getting killed, but like going into the Upside Down in the first season.
Yeah.
So I wonder more, was Hawkins cloned because of Will?
Oh, like Will created it?
Like Hawkins wasn't there in the Upside Down until Will was in it.
Oh, okay. So one slash Vecna goes through, becomes evil, starts maybe realizing like, oh, I got powers to the Mind Flayer now. I'm gonna build an army in this weird underground world. Will comes through, f's everything up, transports a town in the middle of his kingdom. I'd be pissed. Right. I think that's Will messed everything up for everyone, unfortunately.
Do you think we'll ever know? Do you think we'll ever just know like the full, like the real story?
Yes. I would prefer that there always be a little bit of mystery. I don't necessarily want to know everything about the Upside Down.
Yeah.
I would like to know some things. Certainly now that they've added this locked in time wrinkle.
Yes.
I'd like further understanding of that, but I don't want to necessarily know. I'm okay if I never know where the Mind Flayer came from.
Sure.
If it's not Vecna, I'm okay if I never find that out. I'm okay if I never really understand what the Upside Down is. Those aren't necessarily questions I want answered.
Yeah.
Especially if the answer is going to be something along the lines of, well, Hopper fell to the floor, so he's fine.
Yeah.
Like if that's the kind of answer, then I really don't want it. Yeah. I think some things are better left mysterious, and I think the Upside Down as a whole is best left mysterious, but I think we can still piece together some of the puzzles of specifics tied to the kids.
That's the that's the Twin Peaks fan in you talking right now.
I wanted to also say, we touched on it just a bit, but I threw Ben off of it. But I wanted to talk about, I really liked seeing Steve, Nancy, Robin, and Eddie in the Upside Down. I thought that was really cool, putting them in that territory. I think maybe Nancy has been there before in season 1, but I can't remember.
Nancy and Jonathan both went into it in season 1,
and it was really cool to see just them there. There's this really great shot of the kids riding the bikes, and then it just like goes through the. That's awesome. That was an incredible shot. There's a lot of really cool shots in the show, like with Elle and the tank and the screens on top of her. That's some cool stuff. But like that's that's I think is a really great scene, putting them in that territory and having them survive. And just again, I thought Steve was a goner when we see her that thing is eating inside of him.
Yeah.
It's just like whams the bat on the ground. Great stuff.
There's a shot in the trailer, because after rewatching the trailer, most of the stuff is from the season. There's a couple shots from part 2 in the trailer. There's one specific shot of Eddie doing a guitar solo in the Upside Down, meaning that music stuff's going to come back into full swing with another character or all of our characters. Maybe that could be fun.
Well, they have to. Every character has to be in the Upside Down to fight Vecna.
Yeah. I think Eddie's going to try to do it to wake Nancy.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, because they've all gone through trauma, really.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it. So I wonder if there's going to be a situation where, like, again, through the power of friendship, they all have to band together to fight the invasion.
And to go back to what Ben wanted to talk about before, the going through the portal of Eddie's house and having the rope be like stuck between the two is a very good effect, and it's really well done. How you look up and they're on the floor, and you look up and they're on the floors. It's good stuff. I like that a lot.
There's a fun theory going around because demigorgons and demidogs and all them, like, those are creatures, and the bats, demi-bats, whatever you want to call them, they all exist. People are speculating that when Vecna kills someone, because you see, like, in his mind palace or whatever, the people are strung up, like, in his castle or whatever, in a different reality or mindscape or whatever. People are thinking that's how he makes demigorgons, because they're humanoid looking. They walk around, the only thing missing is their face. Like, how do you make that army, or how do you get that army? And people are speculating it's a soul for a soul kind of thing. And I just think that's an idea I'd be cool with. It'd be a cool little, like, it'd be a cool reveal if, like, everyone who's died is now a demigorgon. There
would have to be a lot more death in Hawkins for me to believe that, though.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who have died in Hawkins, but, like, the first season, the Demogorgon killed a bunch of things. Vecna has not killed people. Vecna at this point has only killed 4 people.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. But 4 demigorgons is a lot for our kids to handle.
But the teaser for part 2 shows a lot more than 4 demogorgons.
Well,
I think there is a question of 2 things. If Vecna is not the Mind Flayer, what was Vecna doing during the first 3 seasons?
That's a good point.
Like, why weren't they involved? And even putting that aside, why is Vecna attacking, or more specifically, why is one attacking right now? Post season 3,
they do ask that question. I don't remember who asked it, but yeah, why attack now of all the time? So I think that is a reveal story reason.
Yeah,
I can't think about what it actually is. I can't even speculate why he would be attacking now.
There's an anime that I cannot remember. It can't be Dragon Ball Z, but it's like this villain has, like, various generals that it keeps throwing at the people, and then, like, as like the lower level generals don't make it, then he sends in, like, the bigger guns, and, like, it's kind of like a level. That's what I think has happened. What?
Gurren Lagann?
No, because I'm just thinking of a specific scene that it's not Gurren Lagann. It's like it's a specific scene where they're just like, fine, you won't. You dealt with him. Now you'll have to deal with this one. And so, like, it's like maybe it's Dragon Ball with the Red Ribbon Army. That kind of seems familiar.
Or it could be Kill la Kill.
It's not Kill la Kill. This is an old anime that I used to watch as a kid. And so, like, I think that's what's happening here. Like, if the Mind Flayer is in fact the head honcho, the head bad, then he's like, fine, now you'll have to deal with this. And so, like, it's that kind of thing.
I don't think Mind Flayer is Vecna, because, like, Vecna's origin story and how he was a human and we see him get Palpatined, I think it would be...
I thought the same thing.
I don't think it'd be as fun if he's also the Mind Flayer, because then the big reveal is like, I've been your enemy the whole time, I am the Mind Flayer. I'd be like, oh, well, I wouldn't be satisfied with that, I don't think.
There's something else about how Vecna has to connect to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you mean
know,
the Matrix?
it's like if everything's a hive mind, right? In the Upside Down, it's like because it's one, they're only a hive mind when they're plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Vecna's walking free from that moment, they're not part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's
That's
jacked
a
into the organic Matrix.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lost it. It's okay. I don't know. It sounds like we're probably winding down a bit.
I got a couple more things. We talked briefly about Lucas. I think Lucas has probably like the strongest, not strongest arc for the season, but I think his character, like the stuff he does in this season, is the best that he's done in all the other seasons. I think he's like, this is the best the character has been. His struggle with wanting to be cool and like hanging out with the nerds, like again, a very relatable, like not for me because like I'm the lamest guy.
Relatable for someone
like Ben, yeah, like you wanting to be cool and like, oh, I don't want to do the nerdy things. It's like, what will people think of me? That is insanely relatable.
Speaking of Lucas, I love how he throws him off and takes him to Hopper's cabin and just books it. Yeah. And then he rejoins his friends, and then he's talking to him, and he reconnects with Max, and he says, like, look, I didn't see you. I see you now. You can talk to me. I love that scene with Max in the graveyard is so good.
It's very good. It, you know, him throwing them off the scent almost totally makes up for him throwing the band geeks under the bus and calling them cultists. Almost.
Yeah.
Those weren't his real friends, so it's okay that he did that.
I like Lucas a lot this season. I think that there's a lot towards once he's back with the group. I think there's like it's good stuff. There's
a lot of places where I'm glad the show zigs instead of zagging. A good example is that I'm glad that we don't spend too much time with people like most of our cast thinking that Eddie's guilty of killing Chrissy. Because those are just beats we didn't need to do. I'm glad that Max acknowledges like, well, we can't rule it out, but
I do like that they're just like, so what happened, Eddie? Okay, so this is gonna sound crazy, but like,
try us.
This has happened before.
Yeah, he's like, I love how when Eddie does tell Steve, Nancy, Dustin, and Max what happened, and he's like, "You're not gonna believe me when I tell you." He's like, "Oh my guy, we see some shit."
Oh, this shit. Come back to me. I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
I don't. Sparkz.
There's a bit where the Fred is in the car with Nancy, and the cop says, "Do I know you?" And and everything just changes. That was really well done because like you just don't see it coming. Like all of a sudden it gets very sinister very quickly.
Got it. I got it. I remember. The true MVP of the show and season 3, she just needs her own spinoff, and it's Erica, the little sister.
Yes.
Every time she's on screen, I cannot get enough. Her sassy little, like she loves Dungeons and Dragons. I love it. Oh, real quick, the scene with Max and Dustin, where Dustin's like, "You want to play D&D with us? You got shirts?" And she's like, "Oh wow, really? I get my own shirt?" And she's totally sarcastic. Awesome. Yeah. I love it. I think Max is so good. I'm so glad she didn't die.
Erica's a really. Oh, sorry, Sparkz.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Erica's a really good character, and even when she shows up to Hellfire. Like when Mike and Dustin are like, "Man, high school sucks." It's like, "Screw high school." And they go get Erica from the middle school. And she shows up. And, of course, Eddie's all like, "I'm not going to let this kid." And she's like, "I am a level 14 rogue." Totally putting him in his place. And he's like, "Oh, you're good."
There's a couple of times where it's not that I was annoyed with Erica because it's very much within her personality and I like the character. But there are 2 times where she royally screws the main characters of the show. Like when she's talking to Jason, and then when they're trying to cover up, and she's just like, "You're lying to all these people." Yeah. She like really screws them over.
It's funny because she'll take no bullshit from literally everyone, even our heroes.
Yeah.
The thing is, while she's aware of and believes in the things that have happened, she has not actually been put in danger, like properly to be afraid of this stuff. So I think there's a level where she doesn't take it as seriously.
Yeah, I think
like
so
she
too.
doesn't have real life experience with it, and I think like that's probably coming.
I think so too.
I going back to like the moment with Fred where everything turned. I really like the effect that when the cop's face changes and the scar opens up on his face. I thought that was really good.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The scar opening up on the face. There's some good horror in this show.
That's what I remember. The special effects and the gore. That episode 1 finale with Chrissy, Ben and Beckham. I was like, oh right, the show's rated R. That's right. Ooh, grotesque. Those bodies. Ooh, it's awful.
Another good example of the show like turning left when I thought it would turn right is Eddie's uncle defending him.
Yeah.
Like that's just not like the vibe I thought was going to happen going into it.
Yeah, Eddie's vulnerability from the get-go. Because, like, again, I agree. Like, that could be a character that could be grating. Like, oh, like, I'm bad and I'm tough. You know, like, I'm a nerd. I don't care what anyone thinks. But, like, he opens up very quickly. And, like, I'm accused of murder. I hate this.
And to Sparkz' point, just, like, the uncle being like, there's no way Eddie could have done this. It's not like him. I think this was Victor Creel.
Yeah.
I think like, does that, puts them on that whole thing, which, we talked about Robert Englund, right? He's great.
Yeah. The scene with Nancy and Robin where they're pretending to be like students is really great.
That's a great monologue from her.
Oh, yeah. I remember something of watching this. So two things. A lot of monologuing in this season.
Hell yeah.
And the other thing is, Vecna is not the one who played the radio. He can't have been. This radio starts going, and then he kills his mom. Because the radio knocks Victor out of his trance, and he says it's the voice of an angel. I think there's someone else working against Vecna in the Upside Down.
So yes. So it rung to me weird too.
Yeah.
Because I immediately thought of like, if there's a demon, then there is an angel too somewhere. Like if there is an Upside Down, there is a downside up. That's heaven. I immediately put that in my mind too.
Yeah.
I wish if they're going to introduce something like that this so late in the season, I hope that's not just a red herring. Because that got put in my mind too. Like, oh, is there an ulterior force here too?
Because I don't think necessarily if that is not the case, fine. Don't necessarily. It's not something that's going to break anything for me. But I do believe that there is something there that is working against Vecna.
You're talking about the radio guiding Victor back.
Yeah.
So
there's also a rating that the angel he's talking about is the Mind Flayer, and he's succumbing to evil as well. Yeah.
That song is playing on the radio before the incident begins.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see that one passes out because they overexert themselves and they pass out.
Yeah.
So the radio comes back on because they don't have it silenced.
Well, no, the radio is not playing. The radio is not playing in the same when Victor is telling the thing is like, and then the radio clicked on, started playing "Dream a Little Dream of Me," and then when we see it from Vecna's point of view, the dad gets up to turn off the radio, and that's when it's going like, and then Vecna kills the mom. So the radio is not playing until Vecna attacks.
Right. I'm talking at the end of the attack, he passes out.
Right.
So the radio is back with the song because the song plays and pulls him back.
Right, but I'm saying who turned on the radio in the first place?
That could just be a side effect of him using his powers because of the electro shit that always happens when they use their powers.
This could be. I'm only throwing out a theory.
No, I hear you. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying like I think specifically because we got the clue of him saying I overexerted my powers and I passed out. But he had him because he was trying to take him too.
Mm-hmm.
He had him and he overextended himself and he passed out. And then the radio song was just playing. So
but we know that the radio did help Victor. It's just a theory. So
it's a good theory because like I seen people online speculate like, oh, is there like a good demon that we just don't know about? But also people are reading it as like he's just succumbing to the devil that's on his shoulder. You know, that's also an angel kind of.
The other thing is, I'm not disputing this could be a very valid theory. I'm merely playing slight advocate to it. I doubt one at the time, being as young as he was, knew that a song could pull him out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that he even cared if the song was on.
Sure. So what you're saying essentially is that he played the song. The radio clicked on because Vecna was about to use his powers, and then and if the song had not been on, Victor would have just been in his trance forever.
Potentially.
Interesting.
Like he might have been just as mind locked as the boy.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But
like I said, I'm not saying like if my ridiculous theory comes to pass, doesn't come to pass. Like it's not going to be anything. It does kind of feel like to me like when Supernatural introduced angels in the 4th season. Like it does feel late, but it's not without precedent. You know.
Sure, I'm not. Could be. It could be.
We'll have to see. A part of me wants that, Brandon, because I do want the world to be like explored more, but also like with one more season, I don't know if I don't know how I'd feel if we're gonna fully expand on like welcome to the entirely opposite Upside Down for this final season, or before we even wrap up the Upside Down.
It could be someone in the Upside Down. It could be someone in the Upside Down, like not like a resistance,
like
cell,
a Lawrence Fishburne trapped in there,
like someone trapped in the Upside Down trying to help.
That'd be fun. Yeah, a good wizard to fight the dark wizard. All right, I think I'm good for Stranger Things.
I have a couple more notes.
Go for it.
I think that they do a great job with the gag of how they track down Reefer Rick using the video rentals.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I really like the discussion where Steve points out to Robin that he's convinced Vicky is gay because she returned the tape frozen at the exact moment. I'm like, what a good use of like the technology of the time for a clue like that. The only people who freeze on that moment, that specific moment, want to see boobies.
You love boobies? I love boobies.
Yeah.
I love that. So one of the things that really made me happy in the very beginning of the season is that Robin and Steve are still super close friends. They're still hanging out, and Steve is like, he's Robin's wingman. He's trying to get her to go out with Vicky, and is like, and the whole like, it's boobies, Robin. I like boobies. You like boobies. She likes boobies.
Yeah, I thought that was very
hilarious.
Good. This is the only like quote exchange because I liked it so much that I wrote down, which is Argyle talking with Jonathan. What is your plan to slow motion break up with Nancy? I guess no. And then he yells at him to get in the van. He's like, got me stressed out. She's not even my girlfriend.
That's the line that kills me. He's like, she's not even my girlfriend. Ugh.
Yeah.
That was a good line.
I really like the visualization of Vecna's haze when he's picking a target.
Mm-hmm.
We see it the one time when he goes after Patrick in the car.
Me too.
So another part of like the California story that feels just like over dramatized in a way that feels just like maxed out, maybe too hard. The cops interrogating Jane L. Without an adult, without a lawyer, sending her to juvie. I'm like, this is a lot. This is a lot. I understand like the position they want to put the character of Elle in and what they were setting up there. It's also just another thing tacked on where I'm like, man, this is pushing it a little bit for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Again,
it just felt like they wanted to get Elle out of California as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm. Again, like also, especially talking to police and then being, like talking about Angela bullying her over her dead cop dad. I'm like,
I am so sorry. I have to pee really, really bad.
Go ahead.
Go.
I will run through these. I really love Owen's belief in Elle. I think it's cool. It sucks that he takes her to Brenner, but it's a little bizarre that like why some people aren't calling earlier than they try to. Like I get when Mike and Jonathan aren't at the house anymore, but like prior to that, I'm like, why didn't Nancy and Dustin call and contact Mike when Max was in danger?
Yeah.
Like there was time before that, but like it only gets acknowledged like once it's many steps along. Or why aren't Mike and Jonathan calling when Elle's in danger? Like You know, like they do explain at some point, like they can't contact the people in Hawkins. Like the cops won't let them, but I'm like, there's an amount where you're forcing that separation a little too hard, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I mentioned I love Robin's monologue at Penhurst. We didn't really talk about her, but specifically, but Winona Ryder is simply wonderful at all times.
She's great. People were talking about, there's an interview that she did where she was like, you know, when I was in the 80s and it didn't look great and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and she apparently had talked about in another interview how she was like, you know, I used to be a leading lady and now I'm Will's mom. And it's like, girl, people came to Stranger Things season 1 because of you. It was your comeback. We wanted to watch it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also her name is first bill on the credits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I really like Max's moment with her mom, which turns out to be Vecna, but I still thought that was really cool.
Yes.
On both sides, like when it seemed like, oh, this is kind of nice, and then like when it was really nasty.
I got one, and I forgot. There's an incredible one-shot action scene where a bunch of cool agents get murdered by the evil police.
The shootout.
I don't know if you talked about that. Sorry.
No, I was honestly, it was on my notes. I was about to.
Sweet.
Go ahead.
I love that scene. Great. Those agents are super funny.
It was really good. It really put them on their back foot in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the scene where Hopper gets some peanut butter.
I don't know if I like the evil government people, not the evil government, the anti-L government people. I'm not sure how I feel about them at this point.
I'm also not really stoked about that. Like other than the action scene we just mentioned, like that plot line is I get like having contrarian actors wanting, you know, like to blame L for what's going on. Also, was this the first? It's been too long. Was this the first mention we got of them using the kids as remote assassins?
I'm pretty sure that's from season 2.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, because they make a mention of 8 in this one, who's from season 2, and I think that's when we got the first thing that they were remote assassins.
Yeah, all those X-Men kids. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we've talked about it kind of, but like all the L stuff, with like her dealing with like remote memory flashback stuff in like a deprivation chamber is really cool. I really like having Brenner and Owens together because like they're two sides of the same coin of wanting to help Elle, but like one's a monster and one's like actually trying to help her.
So that was when Brenner was involved and like wanting to help Elle remember the traumatic memory specifically. That's when I was like, oh, okay, so Elle didn't kill those people because there's no reason he'd want her to remember that if she did.
Yeah, that's a good misdirect too.
Yeah, that was because I actually thought that she did kill all those kids because when you see the scene of young Elle with the bloody eyes and
that's what they want you to think.
It's like
and then they catch you and then they think that she's got tendencies because she hits the girl with the skate.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, oh, well, this is coming back.
I really love.
Wait, what'd you say, Ben?
I was like, but it was one the whole time.
Oh, okay.
I really love Lucas's "I'm right here" moment with Max.
Still here.
Yeah, I'm still right here. We talked about Robert Englund. I love him. The part that got me really emotional was I tried to join them.
Oh yeah.
I tried to join them bit and talking about slicing his eyes. Thought that was really good.
Why didn't he just kill himself if he's trying to join them?
Because I think from his mind, like he thinks of it as a demon, and so like he has to go the same way, or he won't be with them.
Sure. Gotcha.
Well, he says that the doctor stopped me.
Right.
Well,
but
no,
like
but
he starts with his eyes because he's trying to go to the same way as them. He's like, take me too.
That makes sense because if he's just trying to join his family, kill yourself just down the wrist.
Right.
Like going for
he has every right to believe it's a demon. Like I would too, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That situation. Let's see.
He says that my son died. My son died a month later, but actually Brenner just took him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a note when they finally acknowledge, like we were talking about, like the lack of call communication between the groups, and they do acknowledge that at one point, that they tried to call Will, but like I still think that there was once Max was in danger, there should have been a call even before they weren't at the house anymore. That's just like the character stuff where I'm like, it doesn't really make sense that they're not talking to each other other than to like keep them apart. Yeah. we talked about the great sound design. There's great music. We talked about Running Up That Hill being incorporated in the score. There's also like clearly like not copying the score, but like taking the same idea of beats and which instrument keys you're hitting from the Nightmare on Elm Street theme, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, this is the first time. I've always liked the music in Stranger Things, but this is the first time that I really paid attention to it, because I think they're doing some really unique and interesting stuff, especially to the show.
Oh yeah.
I really love Murray convincing himself he can kick the shit out of Yuri and then doing it.
Yeah.
Dude, every season Murray grows more and more. Like I love that wacko so much.
Yeah.
I liked one's Clockwork Orange Malcolm McDowell energy, which is the only way I could think to describe it.
Yeah. Malcolm McDowell is actually a good pull. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but overall, I think we covered a lot of it. There's just there is a lot of good stuff. Like just Mike. They got to fix Mike. Like that's the thing is like, I am not convinced that in the next 2 episodes, I like Mike.
No,
at all.
Mike's done.
But like I think he's kind of toast as a character again for this season, which sucks. It just sucks to know that, because like I already came out of season 3 like really disliking him.
And what's bummer is like everyone's gonna come back together, you know, like that's they're gonna do that. And like if they kill any of the California kids, maybe except Argyle. Jonathan, I like Jonathan, but like it's gonna be a bummer because for 2 seasons
they're not gonna
like,
kill Will.
If Mike dies, I'm not gonna care. And that's
the
bummer.
thing. Yeah, like Mike, if Mike dies, I don't give a shit.
That's the thing. Like, I don't think they would kill him because, like, that would be a meaningless death because they haven't done anything with that dude for years.
The things in this season that I really like. The things in this season that I like are just such incredible television, such incredible writing. There's some really, really, truly spectacular stuff in the show, and I like it so much that, quite honestly, I'm ultimately very high on the season, regardless of anything that I could dislike. And we've talked about it at length, but
yeah,
I think ultimately it's a solid season.
Oh yeah.
No, I agree. I think it's just striking to me how Mike, in many ways, was our protagonist when we started season 1, and how far he's fallen from grace.
And now I give
just so striking.
I give more of a shit about Dustin and Steve.
I think that who doesn't? Like, they're great.
They're great.
Oh my god, the bit where they're talking about, like, I told him he's got to clean up that jungle on there, but he says it's attracting to the ladies, and Max is like, let me see.
Yeah.
I also love the part where they're in the car when Max is going to drop the letters off to her family, and like Dustin and Steve are just talking, and it's like, hey, shut up, or I'll punch your teeth, or I'll punch your teeth will fall out. And he's like,
too far.
He's like, dude, too far. And he's like, yeah, you're right.
I heard
Sorry.
it. I'm so sorry.
I love it.
Like, there's a bit where they're just like in the house, and they get paired, and like Steve is just. I was like, did you just sigh? Why'd you just sigh? We're just always paired together, man.
The constant babysitterification of Steve is always great. Like, he tries so hard, not even romantically, just he wants to go with Nancy to get away from kids finally. And then Robin's like, I'll go with them. You're the only person who could drive this car. And he's like, I'm always the babysitter. God damn it.
Because like the thing is, like, he hangs out with Dustin all the time anyway.
Yeah.
He's like, God damn it, I want to not have to do this.
Can I be an adult once?
There's a bit when they're in the Upside Down, because like Steve the whole time is like, man, you gotta check your ego. Because he's like talking because Dustin's got an ego now. It's like, man, you gotta check your ego. And Steve in there is like, man, this guy's ego. And Eddie's like, right, he's really got to work on that. It was like, and they like connect on the fact that Dustin's become kind of a dick.
Like Eddie's even like, it's his tone, right? He's like, yeah, it is.
But the important thing is, Dustin has become a likable dick. Mike has not.
Well, because he's not a dick. He's just like giving him shit because they're close and they're buddies and that kind of thing. And that's a totally different thing from what Mike is doing.
Oh, so one thing really, really quick that I really loved how they did last night in the last episode, because you know how Will was able to talk through the lights in the first season?
Yes.
The light bright.
That's very good.
I loved how they did the light bright, and also I love how they talk how you point the light to the other lights and you can like interfere with them. And I just love that. I was like, because
Sure.
this is so good. This is so
Yeah,
good.
the effects of the upside down are really good and subtle. Some I mean, they're not subtle because you can see it, but like just like the particles everywhere, and if there are light fixtures in the other side, like it shows differently and like interacting. Like it all looks great. It feels magical.
When they're just like, remember how I said that? Remember how I said that they wouldn't be stupid enough to go into the upside down? I might have overestimated them.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Like, oh, puppy.
There's trouble.
There's no cats in here, Trouble. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
Shall we call it then?
I have one last thing.
Go ahead.
What song would save you from Vecna?
I'm screwed. I don't like music enough.
That's a bummer.
That's just
Music's so
bullshit.
good.
It's true. I have no idea.
Do I have to pick just one?
Yes.
I mean, like, just like, it doesn't need to be like your favorite song of all time. Just like, what's a song you're pretty confident would pull you out from Vecna? I'll go first. I know mine. It's "Reeling in the Years" by Steely Dan. That would pull me out for sure.
I'm looking on my Spotify right now, and I like a lot of songs.
Well, that's good. We could just shuffle.
Stevie Wonder's "Part-Time Lover."
Danny California by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll just die.
It's a bummer.
Guess
look. I mean, maybe you throw on an Avantasia album. One of them will get me out of it, but I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or something from Spam-A-Lot.
Oh, honestly, probably something from Jekyll and Hyde the musical. Strangely enough.
Well, there you go.
There's one song in Jekyll and Hyde the musical that I do really like. It's
Whatever will save you.
It's not good and evil. Yeah, it's good and evil. No, it's not good and evil. I forgot the name of it. I guess I'm screwed.
That's it. Just the Smallville opening. Somebody save me.
Somebody save me. I'm just rocking up. Somebody save. As I'm running through.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
All right. We got something. We have saved my life.
All right. That's
For 1 more month.
episodes 1 through 7 of season 4. We'll be back in July for the final 2 episodes of the season. So expect to see us then.
Yeah.
Other Fake Nerds watches are all abound. You want some Obi-Wan Kenobi, you want some Miss Marvel, The Boys, eventually Umbrella Academy. That's all here.
It's true. All of it.
We're going to be doing a lot of these coming up, so stay tuned, as Sparkz said so succinctly. All right, so if you guys want to find us anywhere else, you can like this video and you subscribe to this channel. You can check out, of course, all of our other Fake Nerds watches. We got Star Trek Stranger Things going on that I do. We got
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds, Star Trek Stranger Things, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Obi-Wan Kenobi is the other concurrent one. Miss Marvel's coming up, so stay tuned for all of that. You can check out other shows such as Basement Arcade Pause Menu, Fake Nerd Book Club, and Animation Station. Again, those are all of our shows. Or you can check out Fake Nerd Podcast, which is our mothership show, which I forgot to talk about on our anniversary special. Whoops. You can do the Fake Nerd Podcast. You can check us out every Sunday night. We go live. I call them a live recording. You can check out. We just did the Pixar. We just did a deep dive in some Pixar stuff. Some Pixar 25 movies.
We will be doing a deep dive on Pixar.
Is this coming out tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, so we are doing tonight Pixar. Check that out. Okay. And then coming up, Jurassic World Dominion, I guess.
Yep. And our anniversary special.
So stay tuned. All sorts of cool stuff coming up from you guys, for you guys, from us. It's what we do. It's what we do, guys.
It's what we do.
And you can check us out on all the social medias at fakenerdpodcast.com. We have a TeePublic. We have a Patreon. If you want to support us financially, you can find all the links there on fakenerdpodcast.com, where we got a ton of stuff. Again, it's all linked below. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for Screen Rant, Atomic Geekdom, and KaijuRamenMedia.com. Ben?
You can find me taking a nap in the Upside Down at BenMac27 on Instagram and Twitter, and also TikTok. You can also find me writing for Old School Gamer Magazine, Fusion Gaming Magazine, and GoNintendo.com.
Sparkz?
You can find me running up that hill at Sparkz Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Ryan?
You could find me chilling out with Argyle in California at DJ Tony Snark 616 everywhere.
All right, you can find us again. Like this video, subscribe to our channel. Until next time we see us, guys. Stay fake nerds.